After 72 heartwarming hours, a touching surprise revealed, "Will you marry my daddy, please?" Emma's heart raced as she looked around the bustling community center, the air filled with laughter and the aroma of freshly baked pies. This was it. The culmination of 72 heartwarming hours filled with secret planning, whispered conversations, and glances exchanged over frantic crafts. Her father, Jake, would finally see that life could be full of joy again. He just needed a spark, a glimmer of hope. As balloons danced in the afternoon breeze, Emma caught sight of her dad walking down the street, a shadow of weariness hanging over him. The lines on his face seemed deeper lately, and the sparkle in his blue eyes dimmed under the weight of the world. It was hard for Emma to watch her father battle the storms of life alone since the divorce, and she felt an ache in her heart for the laughter they once shared. Gathering her courage, she glanced at the colorful invitation spread across the table. "Surprise engagement party for Dad," they proclaimed in bright colors. With each invitation, Emma remembered snippets of her mom's laughter and her dad's joy from years past. She wanted nothing more than to see her father smile like that again. In those 72 hours leading to the event, Emma enlisted help from everyone in their small town, where bonds of camaraderie ran deep. Mrs. Henderson, the cheerful baker, provided sweets, while Mr. Brooks, the local handyman, painted decorations that sparkled with joyful colors. The community rallied behind her, each person bringing their warmth and hope to Emma's mission. But every night a shadow loomed over her joy. As the sun set and the laughter of her friends painted a picture of collective love, Emma's eyes caught her dad looking solemn, often lost in thought. What could make him happy? And then it hit her, what if love could light his way? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On the final day of preparations, as Emma put the last touches on the decorations, her hands trembled when she stumbled upon an old letter hidden in her mother's belongings. It spoke of dreams unfulfilled, choices made in desperation, and deep insecurities. Her heart dropped. Was her mom truly as lost as she felt? That moment of revelation left Emma shaken, her perfect plans suddenly tinged with uncertainty. How would Jake receive this truth, and how would it alter their future? Just then, through the fluttering decorations and the hum of excitement outside, the door swung wide open. The community poured in, each smiling face looking to share the love they held for Jake and Emma. Hope flickered once more in Emma's heart. She sank into the crowd and clutched her sign, trembling with a mix of fear and anticipation. "Will you marry my daddy, please?" Her words, simple yet potent, hung in the air as a cloaked silence settled. Emma's heart raced, and in that moment, anticipation collided with uncertainty. Would her father accept this second chance at love? Would he dare to step into the light again? The future felt electric, charged with unspoken questions, lingering just out of reach. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, wrapping around the gathering like a wool blanket. Emma's eyes bore into her father's face, trying to read the complex emotions swirling within him. For a moment, it seemed time stood still, and all the laughter around them faded. She felt everyone holding their breath, waiting for Jake's reaction. Finally, her dad blinked slowly, his expression shifting like the clouds overhead. In that fleeting instant, Emma caught a glimpse of hope as a flicker of surprise danced in his eyes. He opened his mouth but no words came out. She noticed his hands trembling, and instinctively, she squeezed the sign tighter, almost hoping it would somehow convey the depth of her feelings. "Emma," Jake finally managed, his voice thick with emotion. The tension in Emma's chest tightened, almost unbearable. What is this?" "It's a party for you, Dad. A chance for you to be happy again," she exclaimed, her voice gaining strength. "I know things have been rough since everything changed." She took a step closer, the ground beneath her seeming to pulse with the weight of their past. "I just want you to know you don't have to be alone. You deserve love like everyone else here tonight." Jake's expression softened as he absorbed her words. Emma's heart raced. Could he really see her heart's yearning? The room erupted into whispers, the community sharing smiles of encouragement and nods of understanding. They were all rooting for him, for their family to heal. "Emma, sweetheart," he paused, glancing around at the faces of their friends and neighbors, all beaming with support. "I don't know if I'm ready for this, then let us do it together." "One step at a time," Emma urged, her voice rising above her own doubts. "You taught me that love is worth fighting for. Give it a chance, Dad. Just like you taught me." The vulnerability of the moment washed over them, mingling hope with fear. Just as Emma thought his gaze might linger on the floor forever, it flickered back to her. A slow transformation began as the realization of her words seemed to break through the barrier he had been holding suspended for so long. Infinitely small, but it was there, the spark she had been longing to see. What if I did say yes? Jake stepped forward, seemingly taller, his shoulders squarer. What if I opened my heart again? A hush fell over the crowd, each face reflecting stories of their own lost loves and aspirations rekindled. Emma's breath caught. This could be it. Her heart thundered as she dared to hope. Yes. She shouted, laughter bubbling from her as she sprang forward to embrace him. Yes, that's all I want. Just take that leap, Dad. Tears brimmed in Jake's eyes, and he wrapped his arms around her tightly. The warmth of their embrace melted away fears and doubt, not just for Emma, but for Jake as well. It was a moment suspended in time, surrounded by the community that had been there for them during the storm. But as he pulled back from the hug, a distant look crossed Jake's face, as if a new worry had crept in. What if I fail again? What if it hurts, Emma? The fear-laced his words hung in the air, palpable and real. Dad, that's okay. She answered, her tone fierce with conviction. We'll figure it out together. Through the highs and the lows, remember. You're not alone anymore. But as the celebration resumed around them, a creeping dread settled back in Emma's chest. Jake's past weighed heavily on the hope of their future, and deep down, she knew that the hardest part of this journey was still ahead. Would they truly be able to embrace love once again? Just as she turned to voice her thoughts, a familiar face stepped into the community center, one she had never expected to see again. Emma's heart stumbled, and dread pooled in her stomach. What was this new twist threatening to change everything? Emma's breath hitched, her heart hammering in her chest as the familiar figure advanced into the glow of the community center lights. It felt like the world tilted slightly, the joy of that moment with her dad threatening to unravel. She couldn't believe her eyes. Mom. The name slipped from her lips like a whisper, barely audible over the cheerful noise of the gathering. Her mother, Clara, stood at the door, a blend of confusion and cautious hope painted across her features. Years of memories came rushing back, long Sunday afternoons filled with laughter, the way her mom used to swing her across the living room, the smell of fresh cookies baking, and evenings spent telling stories around the kitchen table. But that was a lifetime ago, before the fractures in their family inched their way into every corner of their lives. Jake looked over his shoulder, disbelief creeping over his face. Clara, he breathed, and the name hung between them like a fragile thread, ready to snap. Emma took a tentative step forward, as if to bridge the gap between the past and present. What are you doing here? It was a mix of surprise, longing, and a hint of guardedness. She didn't know if she was ready for this. I heard about the party, Clara said, her voice wavering. I hoped I could come and maybe see if we could talk. Talk. The word echoed, charged with so much meaning. Those moments of talking had always been her parents' solution. But what could they possibly say now? Emma's stomach twisted with the uncertainty of the outcomes, their shared history now a kaleidoscope of pain and hope. A hush fell again. It wasn't just the two of them creating that silence, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Friends exchanged glances, their expressions mirroring the tidal wave of emotion surging in Emma's heart. Jake stepped forward, hesitance in his eyes but determination in his voice. "Clara, I didn't expect to see you." "Neither did I," she admitted softly. "But after everything that's happened I've been feeling lonely, too." Emma watched the two of them, her hopes rising and falling like the tide. Could this be the start of something new? Or was it just more heartbreak waiting to unfold? "Dad," she said gently, "maybe this is what you need. A chance to reconnect." Jake hesitated, his expression caught between joy and fear. Clara's presence was a reminder of everything they'd lost and the possibility of everything they could reclaim. He turned to face her, eyes searching. "Are you saying you want to?" "I don't know," Clara interrupted, tears pooling in her eyes. "But seeing you with Emma tonight, seeing you take those steps, it made me realize how much I miss us. I want my family back." Emma felt hope stirring again, wild and untamed, but laced with apprehension. Would they be able to find their way back from the hurt? Could love really heal the fractures? As Jake took a step closer to his ex-wife, the crowd leaned in. The tension shifted slightly, like the first signs of sunlight breaking through heavy clouds, fragile but promising. But just as her dad reached a hand toward Clara, the waitress bumped into the table nearby, sending a loud crash through the moment. Everyone turned, startled looks replacing the tentative hope that had just begun to blossom. Emma's heart raced. Would this clumsy interruption shatter the fragile spark forming before her eyes? As laughter erupted from the older crowd, Emma's gaze darted among her friends, who watched with anxious anticipation. She took a deep breath, tension swirling in her belly. "Maybe it's time we all talk together," she offered. "To really figure things out." Just then, a small voice piped up from behind Clara. Emma turned, eyes widening as her heart sank. There stood a child she recognized too well, clutching a handwritten sign that read, "Will you marry my daddy, please?" And just like that, everything hung in the balance again. What did that even mean? Emma felt the weight of the moment shift, and she could hardly breathe as she grasped desperately for any thread of hope left. Could their family start to heal with just one unexpected plea? The room fell silent, the kind of thick silence that makes your ears ring. All eyes turned to the little girl, a pint-sized tornado of innocence holding her colorful sign like a beacon that illuminated the uncertainty around them. Emma's heart raced, a conflicting wave of disbelief washing over her. She couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Who was this child? Clara's expression morphed into something between shock and sorrow. "Avery?" she whispered, her voice trembling as she dropped to one knee, disbelief chipping away at the walls she had built around her emotions. "Yes, Mommy." The little girl jumped, her excitement infectious yet strangely out of place. "I saw Daddy talking to you, and I just thought." Considered declarations fizzled like soda losing its fizz. Emma's chest tightened, her mother had never mentioned a child. The thought of a whole new layer of complication wrapped itself around her heart like a vine, squeezing at every tender part. Jake's face paled, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Avery," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" His gaze drifted from Clara to the small girl, as if seeking a lifeline. Avery clutched her sign tightly, a smile trying to overpower the charged atmosphere. "I want us to be one big happy family. You don't have to be sad anymore." Emma felt her heartbeat in her throat. This was the last thing she expected tonight. A whirlwind of emotions spun through her. Could they really be that family again? Would a child's innocence bridge the chasms of their heartbreak? Across the room, her friends exchanged wide-eyed glances, some biting their lips to stifle laughter, while others shifted nervously. Emma noticed her closest friend, Maddie, covering her mouth in an attempt to hide a smile that peeked through the tension. Clara's voice failed, her eyes shimmering with tears. "Honey, it's not that simple," she said softly, feeling the weight of reality crash down upon her once again. "There are a lot of things we need to figure out. Like if you're going to marry Daddy. Avery persisted, undeterred, her little face beaming with hope. Jake's gaze darted to Clara, and Emma could see the flicker of raw emotion in his eyes. Did he want that, too? Did he still believe in what they had? Emma took a step back, absorbing the chaos swirling around her. She felt torn between the joy of having her mom back, the weight of her father's hopeful expression, and the cute optimism radiating from the little girl who only wanted a family. Wait, Emma finally said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Who is Avery? Why is she here? The questions buzzed in her mind, each one a barrier to the affection that had just begun to bloom between her parents. With all eyes on him, Jake hesitated, then seemed to straighten up. Clara, I should have told you Avery is she's my daughter, he admitted, a sense of heaviness permeating his voice. I didn't want to complicate things, especially after everything. Stunned, Emma's heart sank deeper. What do you mean complicate things? The unspoken layers in their family history felt like they were wrapping tighter and tighter around her, choking her with frustration and betrayal. Before Jake could respond, the atmosphere erupted once more. The energy shifted, the whispers growing louder. Emma's friends looked bewildered, unsure of what to say or do. As the distance between them all stretched, the laughter and chatter of the party resumed, underscoring the stark contrast of their new reality, but Emma couldn't look away from her parents, still standing there, lost in a sea of hesitation and unresolved feelings. Could they truly navigate this unexpected line that had appeared between them? The child's voice broke through once again, soft yet bearing the weight of innocence. Will you please just be happy? Emma felt the tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. That simple wish cut through the air like a truth so undeniable, it left everyone momentarily speechless. Suddenly, she realized that in order for them to heal, they had to be brave enough to embrace everything that came with clarity regardless of how complicated it might be, but behind the innocence of Avery's request, a deeper question loomed, a question that might change everything. What sacrifices would each of them need to make, and would they choose family over the hurt they'd endured? What was it really going to take for them to forge a new path forward? The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty and hope. Emma glanced around the room, searching for a familiar face, a partner in this whirlwind of emotion. She spotted Maddie's concerned expression, the wrinkles of uncertainty marring her friend's usual smile. Emma could feel the pressure building in her chest as her world tilted on its axis. This was not just a party, it was a reckoning. Avery's innocent request hung in the air, thickening the silence as everyone grappled with what it meant. Emma's heart thudded dully as she imagined what it would mean to have both her parents back, to have a sister she never knew she wanted. Yet, the thought of the reality behind it all filled her with trepidation. Could they all just slip back into the framework of family? Clara finally stood, wiping tears from her face with the back of her hand. Avery, she began softly, this is a big surprise for all of us. We can certainly talk about being happy, but it's not so simple, she stressed, her voice trembling with the weight of the truth. Why not? Avery insisted, her small fists balled up tightly, a storm of defiance hidden in her innocence. Daddy loves you. I know he does. Jake's eyes flickered nervously, a mix of regret and hope reflecting in his gaze as he glanced between Clara and Avery. The pit in Emma's stomach twisted tighter, she saw her father wanting so desperately to push through the barriers, but the past loomed heavily in the recesses of their minds. Love isn't always enough, Clara murmured, looking lost as if caught between the life she'd carefully rebuilt and the overwhelming tide of this fresh disruption. Emma wanted to reach out, to reassure her mother that they could transition into whatever this new reality was, but the words felt stuck, trapped behind layers of hope and fear. Mommy, if you loved him, you'd want to be with him. Avery's voice was barely above a whisper, but it cut through like a knife, exposing wounds that had yet to heal. Emma felt a rush of empathy for the little girl. She wanted to be happy too, just like Avery hoped. But how? What did her mother think, standing on the edge of the precipice, looking at their shared history with a mix of love and pain? Sometimes, love means making hard choices, Clara said, her voice gaining clarity as the emotions ebbed and flowed. She held her daughter's gaze tenderly. It means considering what's best for everyone. Emma's thoughts raced back to what it meant to be a family. They shared laughs, memories, and now a child who longed for a connection they all could barely comprehend. Jake stepped forward, vulnerability etched across his face. I understand, Clara. I didn't mean to throw this all on you. Avery needs both of us. Shivers coursed through Emma, a deep yearning for the simplicity their lives once held. The promise of tomorrow hung in the air like fruit, ripe but unreached. But it's just, complicated, she finally said, her words weaving into the silence that surrounded them. What if we all tried? Jake proposed, his tone gentle, as if suggesting a dance that might rekindle some forgotten rhythm. We can take steps together. One at a time. Emma raised her brow, taken aback. Could they really forge a new path? But before she could voice her thoughts, Avery piped up again, I just want my family. Please. The room caught its breath, braced for an answer that could reshape them all. Emma wanted to believe that it was possible. But they'd need more than just a little girl's dream to clear the path. With her breath hitching, Clara turned to Jake, her expression a complex blend of hope, fear, and exasperation. What does this mean for us? She asked, her voice trembling, catching the strain of every emotion spiraling around them. The question hung heavy, full of possibility and worry. Emma's heart raced. Would they choose to embrace it, or would they shy away in fear? In that moment, standing together in that room, the fragile threads of their future began to weave together, and a sudden realization struck Emma. Maybe we could start with a family dinner? She suggested, trying to slice through the tension. Just us, all of us. But would commitment begin with something that simple? The glimmers of hope and uncertainty intermingled. As every eye turned toward Jake, waiting for his response, Emma felt a stirring of growth within her, an urge to step into the unknown. This moment of truth, what would they decide? What barriers would they be brave enough to break? The room hung in suspended silence, a tapestry of mixed emotions woven tightly around each person. Emma's heart felt like it was balancing on a tightrope, teetering between desire and trepidation. As everyone awaited Jake's reply, she could virtually hear the clock ticking, each second amplifying the tension in the air. I think we could give it a shot, Jake replied, his voice low but resolute. His eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and hope. Clara's face shifted, disbelief mingling with tentative optimism. Emma could see the faintest flicker of something resembling relief wash over her mother, but it was fragile, like a feather caught in the breeze. Avery jumped up, her small frame practically vibrating with excitement. So, we're all gonna be a family? She exclaimed, her innocence casting a warm light in an otherwise heavy moment. The eagerness in her eyes was contagious, and Emma couldn't help but smile, even as a weight settled back onto her shoulders. Family dinner is a start, Clara said, her tone less certain. But, how do we navigate this? Slowly, Jake responded, looking directly at her. We take it one day at a time, just like Emma suggested. We can all figure this out together. His words hung in the room, a fragile promise of new beginnings. Clara bit her lip, uncertainty still etched in her furrowed brow. Emma sensed the rawness of the moment, felt the hope intertwining with hesitation. Would they really make it through the cracks left by years apart? She silently willed her mother to believe in this step forward. Maddie? Emma finally called out, turning to her friend. What do you think? Maddie, who had been quietly observing from the side, leaned in with her elbows on her knees. I think it's gonna be messy, just like life. But if you all really want this, you'll find a way to make it work. Families aren't perfect, they're just family. Rifts can heal if you're willing to try. The weight of her words hung in the air as Emma processed them. If they could face the messiness together, maybe they could build something new, something better. Can I help set up the dinner? Avery asked, her eyes widening with enthusiasm. I want it to be perfect. An unexpected laughter broke through the tension, the sound like a fresh breeze in a stuffy room. Emma looked at Jake and Clara, and saw the corners of their mouths twitch upward. Avery's innocent plea for perfection was a ticket away from the heaviness they had been trapped under. "All right, little chef, let us plan that dinner," Jake murmured, his smile warming the room. As plans began to unfold, there was a spark of excitement as each one of them leaned in. Emma couldn't help but feel that perhaps a new chapter was finally beginning. But as the group settled into comfortable planning, an unsettling thought crept into Emma's mind. How would they prepare for the fallout if things didn't go as planned? What if old wounds reopened, or if someone's heart broke again? Just as the idea settled, Avery's bright voice interrupted. "Can we have spaghetti? And maybe dessert?" Her innocence was a beacon, pulling everyone into the moment, yet Emma couldn't shake the feeling that deeper conversations awaited them just beyond the horizon. What secrets may still linger? What truths needed to be spoken? The thread of hope woven through the laughter was visible, but Emma's heart couldn't ignore the shadows still lurking, waiting for a chance to emerge. Would they face them as a united front, or would the past find a way to tear them apart again? As the laughter faded and the discussions turned to a focus on food and logistics, Emma's heart raced at the thought of what tomorrow would bring. Would they be ready? Would they be strong enough? The path ahead lay uncertain yet inviting, and Emma felt a fierce desire to embrace it. With her hands pressed together in resolve, she whispered to herself, "Here goes nothing." But just as she was about to share her thoughts, Clara caught her eye, the glimmer of an unspoken question mirrored in her gaze. What would they really discover about each other that night? Avery clapped her hands, the sound sharp against the quiet lingering after their laughter. "Spaghetti. We need tomato sauce and meatballs." Her excitement hung in the air like confetti, a vibrant reminder of the joy that could come from small things. Emma watched as her little sister became the catalyst of hope, her enthusiasm infecting the others in the room. Jake and Clara smiled as they began tossing around ideas, their frameworks of uncertainty slowly morphing into a shared vision. Watching the two of them, Emma felt a familiar pang in her chest. Could it be that simple? The thought of family dinners warm with laughter and meals that turned into bonding moments lit a fire in her heart, but doubt still wove through her mind. Could they really pull this off? Emma suppressed a sigh, shifting her focus back to the small whirlwind that was Avery. "Okay. Daddy, I'll get the list ready. And we can set the table right when we get home, okay?" Avery's beaming face reassured Emma momentarily. "Sounds good, Princess," Jake said, ruffling his daughter's hair affectionately. Their moment was infectious, reminding Emma of simpler times. But there was still an undercurrent of anxiety that twisted in her stomach. "Should we invite anyone else?" Clara asked, her brow creasing slightly. "I mean, maybe family would." "No," Jake interjected, his tone firm but gentle. "I think for now, it should just be us." Emma felt a rush of relief. They needed to carve out this space to find themselves first, without outside judgment or expectation. They weren't ready for that, not yet. "Okay, so spaghetti. What about dessert?" Avery chirped again, her eyes glittering bright with anticipation. "Chocolate cake, with whipped cream?" Maddie suggested, her voice breaking into the conversation as she leaned back against the couch. It was a small gesture, but Emma was grateful for her friend's supportive presence, solid and steady like a lighthouse on a stormy night. "Perfect." Avery squealed, jumping up and down. The mix of laughter and chatter gave warmth to the room, yet Emma remained torn, her heart laced with uncertainty. The idea of returning to the past felt daunting. Would they stumble over old mistakes while trying to build something new? Finally, Emma couldn't hold back anymore. What if we face challenges? What happens if we argue or don't see eye to eye? Jake turned to her, his brows knitted together in thought. "That's part of being a family, isn't it? You work through it together. We'll have our moments, but they don't define us." Clara nodded reluctantly. "Yes, right, Emma. It won't be easy. We may slip and fall, but it's how we get back up that matters most." The room grew silent for a moment before Avery piped up again. "Can we have pink lemonade too?" A small chuckle escaped Jake, and that brightness returned to the atmosphere. Emma couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Avery was a beacon of hope, navigating uncharted waters without a hint of fear. They resumed their planning, each suggestion adding another layer of warmth that wrapped around Emma's heart, but still, in the back of her mind, shadows loomed. What if their hopes crumbled when reality set in? After they wrapped up their little planning session, Clara stood, stretching her arms with a weary smile. "All right team, this will take some work, but I believe we can do it together." "Together," Emma repeated, and felt a surge of determination rush through her. As they began to tidy up, her gaze caught on Clara again, the unspoken burdens between them heavy in the air. Just as she gathered the courage to ask what was on her mind, Avery interrupted, hugging Jake tightly. "Daddy? Can I ask Grandma and Grandpa about dessert, too? They want to help." Emma felt a tug in her heart at the thought. Just when she felt they were slowly moving forward, Avery pulled out a knot of anxiety that was ready to untangle everything. As the thought settled in, Emma glanced towards Clara and Jake. She could almost see the walls that still needed breaking, and the love that also needed to be built stronger. Did the desire to create a perfect moment mean they would have to confront their imperfections first? What would tomorrow bring when old wounds would inevitably surface? Emma took a deep breath, knowing they were about to step into a light that could expose everything. Would they be ready for the conversations that felt just out of reach? Avery beamed, her innocent excitement cutting through the tension in the room like a warm knife through butter. The idea of involving Grandma and Grandpa felt immense. Emma's heart raced, the magic of the evening clashing with her uncertainty. "Is that really a good idea?" Emma asked, hesitation tightening her voice. "Why wouldn't it be?" Clara responded, tilting her head slightly. "Family is family. They can add to the joy of it all." Jake nodded, but his expression reflected hesitance. "What do you think, Emma?" The question hung over her. Involving more relatives could be like inviting a thunderstorm to a picnic. However, the sparkle in Avery's eyes ignited a flicker of hope deep within her. Perhaps it could also mean something good. "What if we start small?" Emma suggested, her voice gaining strength. "Maybe just Grandma and Grandpa for this one dinner. We can see how it goes. This can be our test rune, right?" "Test rune? What are we, wizards?" Jake quipped, a playful grin breaking through his worry. Avery giggled, clapping her hands again. "Yes. Spaghetti wizards." It lightened the mood, but the underlying fear lingered. Was she ready for the potential chaos? Emma wanted to believe they could handle this, but facing family meant pulling back layers they had been trying to keep hidden. That night, as they settled down, Jake kept the TV low while Clara cleaned up after dinner, the faint sound of laughter blending with the rush of water. Emma found herself staring out the window, questioning everything that lay just beyond their doorstep. The next morning dawned bright and expansive, the sunlight spilling like warm syrup across the kitchen table. Avery's chatter could be heard like a soundtrack, echoing from the living room as she played with her toys. The excitement was palpable, but Emma's heart felt heavy, the weight of what was to come weighing her down. "Are we ready for this?" she asked Clara as she poured coffee into her cup, the steam rising like her doubts. "Ready or not, here it comes," Clara replied, trying to sound casual. "We can only control so much. The rest? We'll figure it out together." Emma sighed, knowing Clara was right. She had to find a way to embrace the possibilities without drowning in anxiety. As the day rolled on, they prepared for the dinner, and Avery's joy radiated. She bounced around the house, her apron tied too loosely, determined to help wherever she could. Once the table was set, Emma stepped outside for a moment of calm. The air felt fresh against her skin, and with each breath, she tried to reclaim the hope they were building together. She turned her face upward, the sun warming her features. "Okay," she whispered to herself. I can do this. But the doubt edged back in. What if her parents weren't as accepting as she hoped? What if their carefully crafted plans unraveled when her dad walked through the door? Would the old wounds tear open, unleashing the hurt they all wanted to avoid? When the doorbell rang just as Jake had said it would, the entire atmosphere shifted. Emma's heart drummed in her chest, and she felt a tightness in her throat. Here goes nothing, she muttered, forcing her feet to carry her towards the door. Jake reached for the knob but paused, glancing back at Emma, his eyes searching for assurance. Emma managed a nod, though her stomach churned. With a deep breath, Jake opened the door. Their parents stood there, the smiles on their faces a mix of confusion and curiosity. Surprise! Avery squealed, rushing forward. Then, the unexpected happened. Emma watched as her mother's expression softened, an emotion stirring just beneath the surface. Had the arrival of the grandparents turned apprehension into hope? Just as Emma felt her own tension ease a little, she turned to Clara, who wore a knowing look. Maybe this was a chance for a real connection, after all, but the air was still thick with unsaid words as they all settled down. Was it truly the time to confront the unspoken? Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they were balancing on a tightrope. Would they fall into comfort, or plunge into chaos? The moment of truth was upon them, and as they began the evening's festivities, Emma felt the impending weight of secrets that would need to be unpacked. Will this dinner be the moment we bridge our gaps, or will it send us spiraling back into silence? She pondered, her heart racing with uncertainty as laughter filled the room. The laughter enveloped the living room, but Emma felt a nervous energy hovering just above their heads. Avery had darted toward her grandparents, pulling at their arms, eager to share her excitement. While Avery was lost in tales of her day, Emma caught sight of her mother's hesitant smile, the lines of worry visible despite the joy of the occasion. "Do you need any help in the kitchen?" Emma's mother asked, her tone casual but the undercurrent of unease was unmistakable. Sure," Emma replied, her heart pounding. "Let us get some drinks and the appetizers ready." As they moved into the kitchen, Emma tried to shake off the tension, but the words she had kept hidden piled up behind her tongue. She needed to say something, but the words wouldn't come. "What a lovely home you have here," her mother began, glancing around at the modest but warm space. "It really feels welcoming." "Thanks," Emma said, a bit too suddenly. "We've put a lot of work into it." Her mother opened the fridge, and Emma watched her take out a bottle of sparkling water. The movements felt normal, yet something heavy weighed them down. They had spent so long apart, emotions swirling beneath the surface like a thunderstorm waiting to erupt. "It must be hard with the kids so young," her mother continued, a few awkward moments passing. "I remember those days, they're such a whirlwind." "Yeah, it can get a little." Emma's voice trailed off. Growing up, it had felt like they were in opposite worlds. Why had it taken so long to bring them into this moment? Meanwhile, the living room filled with laughter as Jake entertained Avery and his parents. Each laugh from Avery felt like a balm for Emma's soul, but the doubt still loomed. Would it hold? "Are you happy?" Her mother's voice cut through Emma's thoughts as she handed her a plate. I think so," Emma stuttered, surprising herself with the honesty. "We're trying our best, you know. Trying to make things work." The words opened a small door within her, revealing feelings she had tucked away for too long. "I know things have been rocky," her mother began cautiously, her voice softer. "It's hard when families drift apart. But I'm really trying to understand." Emma paused, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I want us to understand one another, too." Just as hope swelled, Avery burst into the kitchen, her little face radiant, the innocence of a child shining through the imperfect veneer of adult tensions. "Can we have cake after spaghetti?" she asked, bright-eyed. "Of course." Clara chimed in, stepping into the room, her presence adding to the warmth surrounding them. That's when Emma felt it. A shared moment of connection, a bridge spanning the years of silence between them. Maybe laughter could be their glue. "Let us focus on the spaghetti first," Clara added, winking at Avery. We can make the cake a surprise, right? Avery nodded vigorously, bouncing on her toes. Emma looked at her mother, who was almost grinning now, the earlier tension fading. Dinner flowed somewhat smoothly, the spaghetti appearing quite popular, and just like that, they were laughing again. Emma's father talked about old recipes, his hearty laughter resonating around the table. As they all gathered for dessert, Emma took a breath, looking into her mother's eyes. "There's something I wanted to ask," but before she could finish, Avery piped up, "Wait. I have a surprise." All eyes turned toward her. Emma felt a mix of panic and curiosity. What had her daughter thought of now? With the innocence only a child could possess, Avery stood up, her hands clasped tight, shining with a mischief that Emma recognized too well. "Will you marry my daddy, please?" Avery asked, her face beaming. Silence flooded the room, the question echoing like a soft explosion, leaving everyone suspended in disbelief. Emma's heart raced, emotions startling awake. Would it open up new conversations? Or would it send everything spiraling in a direction she hadn't prepared for? Fortified by Avery's enthusiasm, Emma watched her mother's eyes widen while her father's gaze turned serious. Before Emma could react, thoughts swirling. She felt a familiar tingle at the back of her mind. Oh no. What have you done, Avery? Now she felt the weight of their shared history pressing down heavier than ever. The truths left unspoken loomed large in the air between them. What would the answer be? Would this question crack open the possibility for rebuilding or suggest new chaos? Emma knew one thing for sure, everything was about to change in ways she couldn't even begin to predict. The tension in the room hung like a thick fog, every heart caught at the edge of a precipice. Emma watched wide-eyed, the world around them blurring as the weight of Avery's innocent question echoed in her ears. There, small and beaming, Avery had just placed all their futures on the table, and the laughter from moments before faded like a distant memory. Jake's expression shifted, a mixture of surprise and disbelief. Clara's eyes widened, filled with emotions Emma could hardly decipher. "Avery," Jake started, pausing as he searched for the right words. "What makes you think that's a good idea?" "Because we could all be happy together. Like before, Daddy." Avery chirped, innocence shining through her words. Emma felt her heart ache with the breathtaking honesty wrapped in her sister's plea. If only it were that simple. Emma's own thoughts whirled. She wanted to shield her sister from the messy reality that relationships often stir, but also knew that sometimes the brutal truth was necessary for growth. As Jake's silence stretched, a flicker of doubt ignited an urgency in her. "What do you want, Dad?" she asked, voice steady despite trembling insides. "Is it really what you want?" Jake swallowed hard, his gaze shifting between the hopeful little girl and Clara. He faltered, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to be happy again, Emma. I'm scared, but I want to try. I love your mother." As he spoke, Clara stood quietly, remnants of hesitance lingering on her face. Emma stepped forward, sensing that this hinge of possibility was finally here. "Mom, what about you?" Clara's breath caught as if she had to summon every ounce of courage she had left. "I've missed so much. I want to believe that we can find our way. But it's complicated." "I know it is," Emma replied, surprising herself with how rooted her voice felt, like a tether anchoring them through the storm. "But we can create something new if we face it together." With Avery looking between them, waiting for answers, the room felt charged, a canvas poised for creation. "What if we take small steps?" Emma suggested, her heart racing with hope. "Let's start with understanding each other. Can we voice our fears and joys and see where that leads us?" Avery clapped her hands, enthusiasm radiating off her small frame. "Yes. We can have family game nights and eat all the spaghetti. And maybe—" Her voice lightened, spinning dreams plain and bright before them. At that moment, Emma saw it, the fragile gleam in her mother's eye, the cautious optimism in her father's expression. This could be the beginning of something truly beautiful, slowly building a family again, one meal, one conversation at a time, with vulnerability at the helm, but doubts remained. What if they fell back into old patterns? What if they hurt each other again? Emma took a deep breath, the weight pressing on her chest. So, are we willing to go for it? To risk again? Jake's voice was steady as he nodded. If it means being with you all, I want to. I will fight for this. There it was, the spark ignited, carrying the weight of hope. Clara stepped closer, reaching for his hand. Their fingers intertwined, a symbol of a past and future colliding in sweet unity. I want to try, she admitted, tears pooling in her eyes as she held her daughter's gaze. For us, for you, Emma, for all of us. Avery thought for a moment before brightening again. Then we have to start now. What do we name our family? The laughter erupted spontaneously, it deflected the unease, filling that space with light. Emma smiled, her heart swelling like the tide. We name it us. Just us. Great! Avery shouted, bouncing on her toes. The Just Us family. As the room filled with laughter, Emma caught sight of her parents' shared smiles. Perhaps the journey ahead wouldn't be without bumps, but together they had the strength to navigate it. Can I tell Grandma and Grandpa about our family name? Avery beamed, and Emma chuckled, wishing for her sister's unshakable spirit. Of course, honey, Emma said, brushing a tear from her cheek. As the party resumed, renewed energy flowed through the room. The subtle yet profound shift marked a change in their narrative, weaving hope into the fabric of their lives like threads brightening a tapestry. Together, they would create their own stories of laughter, of struggle, of love. Families aren't perfect, but they're uniquely beautiful in their messiness. Emma released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, and with a smile, she embraced the unknown, knowing it was now filled with promise, and with that, they ventured out, ready to transform their Just Us family one heart and moment at a time. Now, before you leave, here's your urgent call to action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because every click matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Show your support and be part of our community.